Mantras of our Divine Mother. Our Divine Mother says the grace and the help are always there for all who aspire for them, and their power is limitless when received with faith and confidence. The best way of meeting difficulties is a quiet and calm confidence in the Divine grace, says our Divine Mother. With always our blessings, says our Divine Mother. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 3, Canto 4, The Vision and the Boon. An influence had approached the mortal range. A boundless heart was near his longing heart. A mystic form enveloped his earthly shape. Flame pure, ethereal, tressed, a mighty face appeared, and lips moved by immortal words. A giant dance of Shiva tore the past. I saw the omnipotence flaming pioneers over the heavenly verge, which turns towards life, come crowding down the amber stairs of birth, forerunners of a divine multitude. Out of the paths of the morning star, they came into the little room of mortal life.
Lord, my sweet Master, this body is thy instrument. This will is thy servant, this intelligence is thy tool, and the whole is only thyself. Seigneur, mon doux maître, ce corps est ton instrument. Cette volonté est ta servante, cette intelligence est ton outil, et le tout n'est que toi-même.
Mannatha Shri Jagannatho Madguru Shri Jagadguru Mama Sarvabhutatma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Gurave Namaha
Vidyate Hridaya Granthishchidyante Sarva Sanshaya Shiyante Chasya Karamani Tasmin Drishte Paravare Brahmai Vedamamritam Purasta Brahmai Vedamamritam Purasta Brahma Paschat Brahma Dakshinataschodharena Adhaschodhancha Prasiddham Brahmaivedam Vishwamidam Varishtham Dvasuparna Sayuja Sakhaya Samanam Vruksham Parishasvajate Tayoranyah Vippalam Swadadya Nasnanyo Abhijapashiti Samane Vrukshe Purusho Nimagno Hanishaya Shojati Muhyamanaha Jushtham Yada Pashyati Annamishavasya Mahimanamiti Vitashokaha Satyameva Jayate
words of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, taken from the collective works of our Lord Sri Aurobindo, SABCL book The Mother with letters. Topic: The Mother's Presence. Page 111. Subtopic: The Mother's Presence within and the Divine Consciousness. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, he must go into himself and find the presence of the Divine Mother within and the psychic behind the heart, and from there the knowledge will come and all the power to dissolve the inner obstacles. The constant presence of the Divine Mother comes by practice. The divine grace is essential for success in the sadhana. The constant presence of the Divine Mother is essential for the success in the sadhana, but it is the practice that prepares the descent of the grace. You have to learn to go inward, ceasing to live in external things alone. Quiet the mind and aspire to become aware of the Divine Mother's workings in you, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Question: we believe that the Divine Mother is doing the sadhana in all of us, particularly through the heart, but how is it we scarcely feel this? There must be some wheel in us. It is a wheel which disappears when the Mother is working, as well as her presence is consciously felt at all times. Question: how and when can one feel the Divine Mother's concrete presence all the time? It is a matter, first, of the constant activity of the psychic, and secondly of the conversion of the physical and its openness to inner supraphysical experience. Apart from the vital and its disturbances, the physical is the chief difficulty in establishing a continuity of yogic consciousness and experience. If the physical is thoroughly transformed, opened and conscious, then stability and continuity becomes easy. It is quite right and part of the right consciousness in sadhana that you should feel drawn in your heart towards the Mother and aspire for the vision and realization of her presence. But there should not be any kind of restlessness joined to this feeling. The feeling must be quietly intense. It will be then easier for the sense of the presence to come and to grow in you. Next subtopic: the presence and the image. Question: is it true that when the presence or the image is seen in the heart, all the habits and moments of the lower nature disappear? The image and the presence are not the same. One can feel the presence without seeing the image, but to produce the results you speak of, the presence in the heart is not sufficient. There must be presence in the whole consciousness and the force of the Divine Mother governing all the action of the nature. Next subtopic: the presence in front. In the evening meditation is the next question. There was an intense moment of surrender from the heart. I had the feeling of the Divine Mother's presence immediately in front, and aspiration rose from below the feet, from the legs, from the Mooladhara center. There was a willing and loving surrender from the heart and from the entire being as if for fulfillment. I suppose the psychic being came to the front, but why did I feel the mother's presence in the front and not within me? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, you had the psychic condition, and then that means a coming of the influence of the psychic being to the front. It is when there is a complete psychic opening that there is the presence within. The presence in front means that it was with you but had to still enter within. Hearing the mother's voice. Question: in your book, Basis of Yoga, one reads, it is the mother who is always with you, in you, and that you converse. Could you please explain to me how one converses with the mother? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, one hears the voice or the thought speaking inwardly, and one answers inwardly. Only it is not always safe for the sadhak if there is any insincerity of ego, desire, vanity, ambition in him, for then he may construct a voice or a thought in his mind and ascribe it to the Divine Mother, and it will say to him pleasing and flattering things which mislead him, or he mistakes some other voice for the Divine Mother. Question: can one rely solely upon the voice from within and thus be guided by the Divine Mother? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if it is the mother's voice, yes, but you have to be sure of that. Question: is it not a fact to hear the mother's voice inwardly and to recognize it as hers is easy? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, no. To hear and to recognize the mother's voice within is not easy. Question: when is one said to be ready to hear the mother's voice from within? For this, our Lord says, when one has equality, discrimination, and sufficient yogic experience. Otherwise, any voice may be mistaken for the mother's. Next subtopic, the presence in the heartbeats. But I do not see why I call the feeling sentimental or think that your sense of the presence of the mother in the heartbeats was unreal. It was your psychic being that suggested it to you, and the response showed that the consciousness was ready. The mother felt that something was happening in you and felt that it was the beginning of a realization. She was encouraging it, did not discourage it. If it had been a wrong or a vital moment, she would not have felt like that, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next subtopic, the presence during the day. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, if you feel the Divine Mother's presence for the greater part of the day, it means that it is your psychic being that is active and feels like that. For without the activity of the psychic, it would not be possible. Therefore, your psychic being is there and not at all far off. The presence during sleep. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says the feeling of the Divine Mother's presence during sleep follows naturally the presence in the waking state, but it takes a little time. Question: can one be wide awake to the Mother's presence in the sleep? For that, our Lord says that does happen, but usually only when the psychic is in full activity. Next subtopic, the presence in work. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says it is for most people not easy to feel the Divine Mother's presence with the work. They feel as if they are doing the work, the mind getting busy and not having the right passivity or quietude. Next subtopic, feeling of presence and oneness with the Mother. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says there is no such necessary precedence as that first one must feel the presence, then only can one feel oneself the mother's. It is most often the increase of the feeling that brings the presence. For the feeling comes from the psychic consciousness, and it is the growth of the psychic consciousness that makes the contact, constant presence at last possible. And Lord Sri Aurobindo says the feeling comes from the psychic and is true of the inner being. Its not being yet fulfilled in the whole does not make it an imagination. On the contrary, the more it grows, the more is the likelihood of the whole being fulfilling this truth. The inner bhava takes more and more possession of the outer consciousness and remolds it so as to make it a truth there also. This is the constant principle of action in the yogic transformation. What is true within comes out and takes possession of the mind, heart, and will. Through them prevail over the ignorance of the outer members and brings the inner truth out there also. Question. Some sadhaks say that they are in union with the mother. I wonder if there is anything more than a feeling of nearness with the mother which they sometimes have. For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, I suppose that they are trying to feel the mother's presence, so if they get some sort of feeling of nearness, they call it union. But of course, that is only a step towards union. Union is much more than that, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Question. You wrote yesterday, openness is not reckoned merely by visions, quite so, but to have a fusion of the rays of sun and moon on each side of the body and feel the descent and the mother's presence in, behind, and above oneself, is it not an exceptional vision and experience? Can it occur without the sufficient opening to the Divine Mother? For this, our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, why should it be exceptional to see the sun and moon on each side or feel the mother's presence everywhere around? There are plenty of sadhaks who have had these or equivalent experiences. What could be exceptional is to feel the Divine Mother's presence like that always. But occasional experiences like these may have had, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Writing to the Divine Mother and feeling her experience. The feeling of the Divine Mother's presence or nearness does not depend on whether you write or you do not write. Many who write often do not feel it. Some who write seldom feel her very close. Next topic, feeling of the Mother's presence. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo wrote this on the 25th of March 1932 and says, the Divine Mother's presence is always there. The Divine Mother's presence is always there. But if you decide to act on your own idea, your own notion of things, your own will, and demand upon things, then it is quite likely that her presence will get veiled. It is not she who withdraws from you, but you who draw back from her. But your mind and vital don't want to admit that because it is always their preoccupation to justify their own moments. If the psychic were allowed its full predominance, this would not have happened. It would have felt the feeling, but it would at once have said, there must have been some mistake in me, a mist has arisen in me, and it would have looked and found the cause. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, the presence whose fading you regret can only be felt if the inner being continues to be consecrated and the outer nature is put into harmony, or at least kept under the touch of the inner spirit. But if you do things which your inner being does not approve, this condition will be eventually tarnished, and at each time the possibility of your feeling the presence will diminish. You must have a strong will to purification and aspiration that does not flag and cease if the Mother's grace is to be there and effective, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Next topic, opening and surrender to the Divine Mother. The central secret of sadhana is the subtopic. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo states on 13th of Feb 1933, by remaining psychically open to the Divine Mother, all that is necessary for work or sadhana develops progressively. That is one of the chief secrets, the central secret of sadhana. But it is not by upadesha that this sadhana is given or carried on. It is only those who are capable by aspiration and meditation on the Divine Mother to open and receive her action and working within that can succeed in this integral yoga. It is a mistake to exercise the mind about these things and try to arrange them with the ordinary mind. It is by confidence in the Divine Mother that the opening needed will come when your consciousness is ready. There is no harm in arranging your present work so that there will be time and energy for some meditation, but it is not by meditation alone that what is needed will come. It is by faith and openness to the Divine Mother. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says, keep yourself open to the Divine Mother and in perfect union with her. Make yourself entirely plastic to her touch. Let her mold you swiftly towards perfection. You have only to aspire to keep yourself open to the Divine Mother, to reject all that is contrary to her will, and to let her work in you, doing also all your work for her, and in the faith that it is through her force that you can do it. If you can remain open in this way, the knowledge and realization will come to you in the due course. To practice integral yoga implies the will to overcome all attachments and turn to the divine alone. The principal thing in the yoga is to trust in the divine grace at every step, to direct the thought continually to the divine, and to offer oneself till the being opens and the mother's force can be felt working in you. All things are the divine because the divine is there, but hidden, not manifest. When the mind goes out to things, it is not with the sense of the divine in them, but for the appearances only which conceal the divine. It is necessary, therefore, for you as a sadhak to turn entirely to the Divine Mother, in whom the divine is manifest, and not run away after the appearances, the desire of which or the interest in which prevents you from meeting the divine. Once the being is consecrated, then it can see the divine everywhere, and then it can include all things in one consciousness without a separate interest or desire, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.